Hi, my name is Ted. Far out. So I was chilling out in Wales, in the Black Mountains. Hay on Wye. Ever heard of it? Don't go there unless you like books. And all of a sudden, these dudes over here from TEDxSalford, they call me on the phone and they say, hey, how'd you like to come down here to Salford and give a little talk on stage here? I said, well, that'd be fantastic, man. How much time I got? Well, you got 18 minutes. But I also heard before this someone say, everybody on the planet at some point in their life will experience 15 minutes of fame. You with me? So I'm trying to figure out what to do with the extra 3 minutes. What I'd like to talk to you about today is my research traveling the world for the past 16 years about how to create world peace. And you know, everybody looks at me like, oh, this guy's lost his mind. According to George Smoot, I have. I think I've found a solution. I think I came up with an idea and a method for the entire world. And it's probably a little bit out of the box, but that's okay. Look at me now. The reason I know it works is because I can walk down the sidewalk or the pathway in any street in Manhattan, New York, and I get the whole sidewalk to myself. No, my real name is the Scary Guy. I changed my name in a court of law 16 years ago. I'm an ex-tattoo artist. Does that make sense to you, dude? I was a happy, sassy, mouth-running, Harley-riding guy. I owned 3 tattoo shops. I had 10 artists working for me. Rode my Harley to work every day at 11 a.m. in the morning. Turned up my rock and roll as loud as I could. And if you didn't like what I had to say, then I'd just tell you where the sun didn't shine. One day, someone I do not know in the tattoo business, a competitor in Tucson, Arizona, he ran a full-page ad in the newspaper and said, "Are you tired of dealing with scary guys with war paint facial tattoos?" I read the ad in the paper that day and I slammed it down on the counter and I thought, why would that guy say that about me? I'm a good guy. But the very first thought that came to my mind was, what am I going to do to get that guy back? You know, revenge. Seems to be a lot of that going around. So I thought I'd jump in my hot rod Lincoln, find out where that guy lives, go to his house, and run over his dog. Well, a flat dog ought to get him back. Then I thought, no. I'm a good guy, and this is where my life changed. I stepped up on a pedestal. I declared myself the good guy. He's a bad guy. Look what he said about me in the newspaper. And as I was bragging and gloating about how great I was as a human being, that's when my life started to flash in front of me. And over the next 2 years, I realized I was a name caller, a hater. I could stereotype and categorize people at will. I masked my whole life in sarcasm and humor. With that realization, I jumped down off my pedestal. I went back to my warehouse where I was living at the time in Tucson, and I told all my friends I'm packing my bags, and they said, "Where are you going, Scary Guy?" I said, "I'm going to travel the world to help people see each other differently from the inside out. They said, how are you going to do that? And I said, I haven't got a clue. I can tell you one thing, though. They said, what's that? I think I just wasted 43 years of my life running my mouth calling myself a good guy. Well, now I look back over the past 16 years as I travel and teach people about all these negative words as energy. I don't think the first 43 really was a waste of my time. I think I had to live that to know what I know now. So I decided to hit the road. And I went out there and I started doing my research about words and actions and what's really going on with people around the world. What are we doing? I saw people reacting to everything around them. They would blame other people for their actions, and they would emulate exactly what they saw and heard. Gossip, name-calling, bullying, put-downs. Well, that's how I did it. Somebody called me a name, I call them a name back. After all, they made me mad. That's how I saw it. I saw mine as okay. So I said, okay, how am I going to do this research? How are we going to come up with a real solution? And the very, very first group of people that I approached in my Scary Guy career, I thought in my mind would be the simplest group to talk to. Besides, I thought I didn't want to leave anybody out. So I went to a group of 45-year-olds, 45-year-old kids. I thought that would be easy. If you do not have your act together and you are standing in front of 45-year-old kids, I have news for you. They will eat your lunch in about 2 seconds flat. That is a tough group. So I thought I would take a survey, and I asked the kids the survey, and I'm going to ask everybody in the audience the same survey right now, because I'm very interested in the statistics. I want to know what's really going around, because as I travel around the world, I see governments and cultures pointing fingers at other groups and people for the problems. Nobody really comes up with a solution to all of this hate and anger and violence and name-calling. So I asked the kids, how many of you kids, and I'll ask you guys now, how many of you people in this audience have been called rotten words before? Raise your hands high, please, a little higher. Okay, look around the room. That's about everybody in the room. If you have not been called a rotten word before, leave your hand up and I will come down and call you one now. We don't want you to go free of this negative energy. How many of you people in this room have called other people rotten words or negative words before? Oh, you raised your hands a little faster that time. How many people in this room have physically struck or hit another human before? Raise your hands high. And this would include your brothers and sisters. Oh yeah, they're not human. Well, that's how you saw them. My little brother come home from school, I'd be about this tall, my little brother be about this tall. He'd come home from school and he'd be standing in the corner. I walk over to my little brother, I go, hi little brother, boom! He goes, this means I love you. He says, you stop hitting me or I'll tell Ma. You tell Ma and I'll give you more love. Well, that's how it worked, wasn't it? Yeah. So what did I just discover in those 3 questions? I asked them of everybody. I asked the questions of law enforcement. We train police officers all over the world. I asked the questions of military people. We work with the military. I ask them of political officials. I ask them of the homeless. I ask them of people that are drug addicted. I don't discriminate. People are people as far as I'm concerned. I figured out a way to love them all. I didn't have to like all their behavior. It's an interesting concept, I think. So what I discovered is the whole human race is involved in the transfer of this negative energy in some way, shape, or form. We're either involved in producing it. I used to call mine self-defense. Yeah, after all, you deserve it. You made me mad. It was your fault I punched you in the nose. Or we're receiving the negative energy. We call that person a victim. Or we're watching it go by. Yeah, there's a lot of bystander things going on. But I had those 5-year-olds in the room, and I thought, well, I'm going to take one more survey. The question was, do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? And I asked a bunch of 45-year-olds this question, do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? And the first 5-year-old, I don't know. I saw Einstein on the screen earlier. He must have been an Einstein. Because I walked right up to him and I said, hey, little dude, do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? Yep. I mean, he didn't even hesitate. It was an amazing thing. And then I went to the next. I was, what's wrong with that kid? In my mind, I'm thinking that kid is sick. And so I go to the next kid. I say, hey there, do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? Yep. Once the first one said yep, they all copied him. Everybody in the room said yes. These are 5-year-olds. They really believe that they can see world peace in their lifetime. So I worked my way up the ladder, and I was a little bit stunned by this information, and I went to the 6-year-olds and the 7-year-olds, and by the time I got to the 12-year-olds, I asked them the question, and the 15-year-olds, do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? And I started to get this answer. Maybe. It depends. No. Yep. So I started to see something different. I started to see a shift. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is, when I was working with the 5-year-olds, a lot of people think I would scare a 5-year-old. After all, my name is Ted. No, I can't scare a 5-year-old. I try to scare 5-year-olds into saying no to me. All they do is laugh. They laugh very hard at me. Every time I walk in a room, I don't know what it is. I try to talk to these kids about world peace and love and getting along and kindness. And every time I talk to them, they're laughing so hard, they're actually slapping their knees. Have you ever seen anybody laugh so hard with their mouths gaping wide open? Actually having fun. And the coolest part about it is most of them think I'm sponsored by Crayola crayons. It's an amazing process to me, and I really, really enjoy working with 5-year-olds. Now, there was a school I went to not too long ago, and they said, hey, Scary Guy, we got some 3-year-olds we want you to go talk to. You know, reception. And I went, oh, sure, no problem. And I went to talk to these 3-year-olds, and I got news for you. They absolutely knocked me flat on the floor with their energy and their willingness to do the job. I mean, the younger they were, the more action-driven they were, the more they believed that it's possible. It was a given. It was crazy. Now I get to, and when I was working in high schools, I'll tell you what I found. I would say this to the high school kids. I go, hey, come on, you guys, let's change the planet. And they'd look at me and go like this. He's gay. So I thought, well, I better do my best here with this world peace thing. I better go find a group of adults and ask them. So I went out there and I found some adults just like I see in this room right here. And do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? Do you think you'll see world peace in your lifetime? Do you think how about 2 no's and an I don't know? Are you running a fever? You're getting sicker, possibly. Maybe. You've been hanging out with a 5-year-old. This is amazing, yeah. Well, what I discovered in my research was 99.9% of the answers I received from adults was no. They're not going to see world peace in their life. So what I had to do is I had to start looking at what happens from a kid that's 5 years old in their belief system and how they do what they do until we get to 25 and 35 and 45, 55 and 105. What happens? So I had to analyze the process, and I looked at it and I started asking myself questions. Was it about the word peace that they were having this shift occur? The difference in the word peace. And I said, no, I don't think that's the word. Was it world? Could it be the word world, and the perception of the world to a 5-year-old was different than the perception of the world of an adult? And I said, oh, I think this is it. I think the world to a 5-year-old, from my experience and my research, it's about them. They deal with themselves, and that's their world. That's what I hear from them. They don't really have a true concept of the earth or what's outside of them. I mean, they do if it hurts, you know what I'm talking about, or if it's fun. So I went to the adult world and I said, how do they see the world? And what I discovered, because of the reactionary processes going on and how people would accept all their words as energy, and another human being would speak and they would become affected by this, I saw that their world was out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, the long and short to this story about world peace is, yes, this is the earth. We all are on the earth. We do not own this planet. We are here. We are using it. We are using it for a very short period of time. I am not here for very long. I am a blink. I'm a grain of sand. And I am grateful that I get to experience these moments on this planet. This is my world. It's inside here. Yeah, this is where I run my world. What I discovered about world peace was it is your and my responsibility to create my own world peace. It is a process of creation, not a thing you go out and wait for, or you wait for the government or the teacher or the parents to make it better for you. It's a process of creation from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night. Each and every one of us are responsible for creating our own world peace every day we walk on this planet. Thanks.